What is up, football fans? I am Danny Austin. This is the Live from the 55 podcast. We are broadcasting here from our Martaloop Studios, the Nation Network in Calgary, Alberta, Canada. It is Sunday night. Well, Sunday afternoon for me. Sunday late afternoon for me. Sunday, August 6th. That means that we are recording sort of as the Ottawa Red Blacks and Saskatchewan Rough Riders are playing. So be conscious of that. We are not going to be talking about that game here. We are going to be talking about a lot of other things, though. Super exciting episode. I can't wait. We got Darnell Sankey, formerly of the Saskatchewan Rough Riders, formerly of the Calgary Stampeders, an absolute tackling machine, a guy who went down to the XFL, won a championship, has been released. Is he coming back to the CFL? I want to talk to him about it. I want to talk to him about that. I want to talk to him about what his future holds, what his experience is like in the XFL. I think a big part of the Canadian Football League landscape right now. It's a big story. So excited to have Darnell. And then, of course, it is Sunday. So as best I can, I try to have my man, my friend and yours, Ian Busby. He's going to drop by. He's just finishing up work now. So he'll be here in a little while to talk about all the games around the CFL this week. And what a week it was. Really interesting one. Last week we sort of said, the teams you expected to win won. I don't think that necessarily happened this weekend. The Winnipeg Blue Bombers absolutely crushing, stomping, destroying the BC Lions 50-14. I don't know. I don't really buy this whole redemption narrative. It's the Bombers. Nobody was saying that they were anything worse than the third best team in the CFL. So this whole idea that they came in and proved all the haters wrong, like they still lost the Lions earlier in the season. They still got to go beat the Lions in Vancouver later this fall. So, I don't buy the redemption thing. However, I do buy that you win 50-14 against the team that's ahead of you in the standings. And I got to put a little respect on your name. That was a big, big, big win. We're going to talk more about that in a second. Then Friday night, I was there, McMahon Stadium. Undefeated Toronto Argonauts come in. Did not look very good against the Calgary Stampeders. The Stamps, who were sort of on the ropes, were reeling. They were just coming off back-to-back losses. The Stamps beat the Argos 20-7. There are caveats to this. We're going to get into it. Either way, that was a big win for the Stampeders. I'm not saying it rescued their season or anything like that, but a team that was 2-5, that was a really, really tough month. They beat the best team in the league. That counts for something. Then Saturday night, you had the Montreal Alouettes against the Hamilton Tiger Cats. 27-14 for the Alouettes. A pretty straightforward win, in my opinion. I don't know, look. The narrative is going to be Cody Fajardo was terrible in the first half. Whatever, guys. They won 27-14. I think the Alouettes are sort of separating themselves, showing that they might be the second best team in the East Division. That's for sure. Where do I have them in my power rankings? Probably fourth right now, comfortably. That's. I feel good about that. I don't know how you would have anyone else above them, really. Obviously, they're 4-3. There are 3 other teams that are above 500. The Alouettes are one of them. I'll just be honest with you guys. If he was on the Stampeders, I probably wouldn't say this, but man, I feel good for Sean Lemon. I think it's just amazing. Honestly, the guy, he's been a guest on the show twice. I covered him for a couple years in Calgary here. I think everyone knows that he's someone I have a lot of time for. And just seeing him not get a contract after being the West Division Most Outstanding Defensive Player nominee last year, it didn't make sense to me. I didn't like it. I thought he's too good a player. He deserved more respect. He deserved an opportunity. For him to get that opportunity in Montreal, after getting cut by the Lions, which, you look at that Lions D-line, you can sort of understand it a little bit. There was also a ratio issue. But for him to come in, his second game, 2 sacks, an interception, 3 defensive tackles. The guy was everywhere. He, you might argue he was the best player on the field. This is what Sean Lemon does. And I think that people complicate it. There's this weird narrative about him that, he's not good on the run or something. He only goes, forget all that, man. This is Sean Lemon. This guy's been doing this for so long. There's a reason why 8 teams around the league have employed him while he's gone back. Teams know what he brings. He is currently, I just don't think that there's been, right now, actively, it's kind of him and Willie Jefferson as the guys who, for me, they're absolute Hall of Famers. He deserves his flowers. We got to start giving them to him. What more can he do? I mean, good players do good things on the field. You don't want to acknowledge that Sean Lemon's been doing amazing things on the field for a long, long time, decade now in the CFL. But 94 sacks in his career. He's going to hit 100 this year. What an addition by the Alouettes. I'm just thrilled for him. Thought that was great to see. Made me really happy. Good for you. Good for you, Sean Lemon. Other than that, yeah, I mean, I think we got to unpack, and we'll do a lot more of this when Busby's here. But you had the Bombers beating the Lions by 36 points. You know, what more can you say? Yes, the Bombers were coming off a bye. Yes, the Lions were on a short week. But this game was billed as sort of the heavyweight showdown. This is the two best teams in the West. Um, this is these are the two powerhouses, the two contenders, the teams that are most likely to be playing in the Grey Cup. And the Bombers they decimated them. It was disgusting. Look, Vernon Adams Jr. is going to be back for the Lions. I don't know that he makes that big a difference in this game. I don't know. Um, I don't know that we can say that. I just think the Bombers, when they are locked in, remain for me as scary a team as there is in the CFL. They're the team that I do not want to face in the playoffs, no matter who I am. For the Lions, like Dane Evans, Dominic Davis, like neither of them look great. What are you going to do? It's the backup quarterback. I get that. I understand that argument. But the Lions, look, you can't lose by 36. Cool, you've shut out the Elks twice, but we are going to measure at the end of the season. The only way that we measure any team in the CFL is how they do against the other great teams. There's only 6 teams that make the playoffs. I don't care if you can shut out the Elks. I care what you do against the Bombers. All of a sudden I don't have it in front of me when the Lions and Bombers played that third game. I know it's in Vancouver. I know that the Bombers have already been saying, hey, we could really use some Winnipeg fans there. Flights on WestJet aren't that expensive. Get there. Support your team. That's awesome. Doing more. That sets up. That game is just going to be huge. It's going to be awesome. Good on the Bombers, man. I know that I joke. I say that their offensive line is 75 years old. Still sort of believe that. That receiving core is so good, is so dangerous. Zach Laris, if you give him any space, yeah, he'll go 19 of 27 for 369 yards and 3 touchdowns. It was disgusting. Kenny Lawler looked amazing, 200 yards. Dalton Schoen, Nick Dembski, Drew Oltarski. You go up and down the list. It's just such a dangerous team. And if the O-line can give Zach any time, they're going to be a handful for everyone. I don't think anyone was denying that. That's the one thing. I know I sort of mentioned that. I've joked around about it all weekend. Just this sort of, oh, the Bombers shutting up the haters. What haters? I didn't see any haters, guys. I think that I had the Bombers ranked 3rd. I'm sorry if that's disrespectful. Either way, big win for Winnipeg. Makes the West Division very interesting going forward, particularly up top. But you know what? The middle is kind of fascinating too. The bottom's not. The Elks are terrible. They're brutal. I don't really care about their offensive coordinator thing. I'm watching there. Something has to change. They were off this week. But then you had the Calgary Stampeders, the team that I cover, winning 20-7. There are caveats here. Like Chad Kelly left with 4 minutes into the second quarter. So like the Stampeders largely defense looked absolutely dominant, but they were doing it against a backup quarterback. And again, that matters. We have to sort of acknowledge that. But it's not like Chad Kelly was ripping it up. Yeah, he had 94 yards in a quarter and a bit. Worth noting that 76 of those yards were on a busted coverage touchdown. They count just the same. I'm not saying otherwise, but it's not like 18 yards is something you're going to write home about. I was not blown away at all by what I saw from Chad Kelly early. I hope he's okay. We need him in the league. He's had a great season. I'm not going to get into the MOP talk, but I do think he's part of that conversation at the very least. But honestly, like the Stampeders team that has not caught many breaks this year. They recover a punted fumble right at the end of the first half. Just felt like that break that they'd been waiting for. And they kind of cruised from there. They didn't try to do anything too crazy. They didn't turn the ball over. That was huge. They didn't ask Jake Mayer to be the second coming of Warren Moon. He managed the game. He was effective. And then what more can you say about Dedrick Mills? I'm not going to make a big scene about CFL stats. We all know it's ridiculous that we can't easily access stats, things like the league leaders, what have you. I don't know where Dedrick Mills is in terms of the rushing leaders, but the fact is this guy ran the ball 27 times for 137 yards. That workload was absolutely insane. He looked just as good at the end of the fourth quarter as he did at the beginning of the first. He also had 4 catches for 18 yards. The guy was an absolute beast. The fact that Kadeem Carey is likely back He will be the Stampeders starting running back. I mean, he's the best running back in the CFL when he's playing. Um, there's no way Dedrick Mills is being pulled out of the lineup. There's no way he's being put on the practice roster because there's going to be a team that claims him. But beyond that, he literally just deserves to be playing. He's done such good work. But the fact that the Stamps may be able to roll out a Kadeem Carey and Dedrick Mills 1-2 combo, take a little bit of just the load off, so those guys can be effective without having to just get banged up and beat up their bodies. It's a really, really big deal. I thought that the offensive line was better, opened holes. When the Stampeders offense finds a way to stay on the field and not turn the ball over, I don't necessarily know that I'm going to be picking them against the Lions next week. I don't know that I'm going to be picking them against the Bombers the next week. But look, they went out, they stayed on the field. Dedrick Mills was dominant. Jake Mayer didn't make any mistakes. That's what Stampeders fans have been asking for. They got it. The Stamps are now 3-5. Again, I'm recording this before the Ottawa Sask game tonight, but there's a possibility that Stamps and Riders are sort of right there, tied for third place. So, lots of tough games for the Stamps ahead this month, but they do have 2 against the Elks, which I'm it's not just on paper. I just genuinely believe those are going to be wins. But big weekend, lots of fun games, lots of interesting storylines. Yeah, I wish we had stats. I saw Arash tweeted about the stats. When Arash tweets about the stats, it gets some attention. But fascinating weekend. Stamps also added Markeith Ambles. That's the guy who's been on the team. That's a veteran receiver. I don't know. This was one of those weekends where I felt like, hey, I had a picture that I painted of the way the league worked, the way the league looked, and now I got a different perspective. Love that about the CFL. So anyways, we got Darnell Sankey. We got Ian Busby. Let's go. Guys, let's say you're having a party. Let's say you're having a picnic. Let's say you're having any occasion. Got to talk to you about Fraser and Fig, because I love these guys. Here in Marda Loop, a couple storefronts down from our studio here. Fraser and Fig, man, these guys do these delicious elevated cheese and charcuterie boxes. They're made with all these fresh artisanal ingredients, on-demand grazing, pick up, delivery. You got it. Just let them know what you want. They will get it to you. Honestly, I'm such a big fan. I had a picnic a little while ago. I brought one of their curated boxes, and it was a huge hit. I looked great. People loved it. We're hungry. They weren't hungry anymore. These ready to go boxes, they got them in 4 sizes. All their boxes come with meat, cheese, dried fruit, fresh fruit, nuts, olives, pickles, and carrots. Their selections vary from month to month. Choices are always new. Just because they've had one doesn't mean you've had them all. I love Fraser and Fig. I love having them as a sponsor. They're the best. Make sure you check them out. Tell them Live from the 55 sent you. All right, man. Really excited to have Darnell Sankey with us, coming from San Jose, California. Darnell, you have been a topic of conversation around the CFL, but before we get into any of that, man, how's life?
It's good, man. Just enjoying this 105-degree heat weather out here. Just back in the Bay, just training, training guys out on the training business, and just making sure I'm ready to go. I just got my double days going on, and yeah, making sure I'm ready.
Has that been all summer pretty much? Like, have you been able to train pretty much since the
Yeah, yep.
XFL?
Since XFL season ended a couple months ago, I've just remained in shape and probably honestly in even better shape. So, yeah, I mean, I'm, I feel good.
Do you have to, like, going from like XFL being 4 down, smaller field or whatever, and then obviously coming up to Canada where it would be the bigger field? Is there a difference in terms of where you need to get your body to?
Um, I would say in a small way, the game's a little bit faster. But I've always felt like I've been known to run, so I've always remained like in really good shape. I would say, I've always felt like I could run, and that's kind of my thing. So like running to me isn't really the problem, but I know some guys have a big adjustment. From what I remember, 4 down to 3 down, it's a little different.
Yeah, I mean, the fact that you came to Calgary with the elevation and pretty much were able to, like, play right away, didn't have any adjustment, kind of
Yeah,
speaks to that. You know what I mean?
yeah. I just being in shape is one thing I'm gonna be. So
Yeah.
that's not something that I feel like I lack.
So for you, obviously, like, this has been, I imagine, a wild year. It had to be a little bit. I mean, I know you love the CFL and all that, but like, it must have been pretty fun getting to go back and play 4 down for a little while, eh?
Yeah, it was different. Everybody always asks, like how do you like take it? Like you go from literally playing a whole CFL season to a whole XFL season, and then possibly going back. It's just, I mean, but it's just I never really looked at it like that. I just kind of looked at it as like I just take my opportunities and my as they come. I never um I've never really thought about how much football it actually is, and but it's cool. I
Yeah.
enjoy it. So
Did you enjoy the XFL experience?
yeah, I did. Yeah, I really did. It was a nice chance to get some uh like a different type of game, really. Like it's from three down to four down again. It's just kind of like I was back in the NFL. um I went there and experienced it. It's just not really for me. I mean, I kind of went there, I did it, and
And you won
kind
a
of done with it.
championship.
Yeah, I won a championship, which was amazing. I get my ring. So
Yeah.
I get my ring. I think it comes like either late couple months or early next year. So I put that up on the wall. But yeah, I mean, no complaints. It was great, great opportunity, and I'm blessed for sure. So no complaints about it. It's just, just not for me.
I was talking like earlier in this year with Singleton, and he was saying like he's like, man, I just want the same playbook 2 years in a row. But like you've now had what 3 different playbooks in like
Yeah,
in 2 years.
yes. Sometimes it would be nice to go into a system that like finish the year and then go in the same system. You don't have to relearn anything or reprogram your mind to a different coach's philosophy and different ways to run cover three. It's just like, I mean, it's nice though. I mean, if you consider yourself a student of the game, then it should come pretty natural.
Yeah, it's a lot of time in playbooks though.
Yeah, man. But it's what you love to do.
Yeah.
So, you gotta it's the sacrifice you gotta make.
Nice. And like it's all amicable. Like you got your release. It's all good. Like
Yeah, yeah, yeah. We requested, we asked for it, I believe it was either Monday or Tuesday. I think it was Monday maybe. And they granted it, and that's we didn't really think it would be a problem if you request it.
mhm,
I mean, it's nothing like it's just business, it's business. So it's like, I mean, I know, all I got all love for Arlington Renegades for allowing me to come play. They allowed me to come and I started and did great. I had a good year. I feel like, I could have made improvements as well, but um, like there's nothing like negative. Talk to the GM. I mean, it's just time for me to move on.
nice. The second it was announced that you were released, like
Yeah,
honestly,
yeah,
I can't tell you. Like my DMs, like my Twitter, were just people
yeah,
being like, "What's
yeah,
going on with Sankey? What's going on?" So I mean,
yeah.
does your agent just say, "Hey, like CFL teams, like this guy has been an actual absolute tackle machine. Like he's available."
Um, I and that's something you got to ask my agent. I mean,
Yeah.
I just know he gave me a call. Once we put the news out at like I think like 9. We had a phone call, me, my agent, and we discussed some things. And like 11, he called me. He was like, "Hey, is your social media?" go-" And he was like, "Yeah, I've been getting like blown up for the past like 2 hours." I was like, "Yeah, mine has too." So we're on the same page, man. So
Yeah.
yeah, yeah, it was, yeah. It's just, I'm grateful and I'm thankful. I'm humbled and just excited for whatever's next. I mean, I'm excited. So, but yeah, he does like in terms of the interest.
Yeah.
Yeah, he did mention that. Like, hey, I had a couple teams, contact me and kind of ask me what's up. So
Yeah. So what are you looking for in an opportunity?
um, I guess I would want to obviously come into an organization that is looking to win. I think every organization really wants to win, and I mean that you should want to win. I mean, but I just want to come in and just do whatever I can to help the team. I don't want to uh come in as like this oh my gosh, got this guy. Like, no, I just want to come and be a part of the team, man. So it's a team game. It's all about winning when it comes down to it. So I don't want to take the shine. I just want to come and just do the grind.
How how closely have you been following the CFL season?
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah. I follow the NFL and the CFL very closely,
Yeah.
so I know I know everything that's going on. People be thinking I don't know, but I watch everything, man. Like, yeah, I watch. All I do is just watch football. So, like,
Yeah.
I mean, I've seen everything. I watch all the games. I watch, I mean, I'm very up to date. I just kind of watch in the corner, you know.
I also feel like you have the advantage, like, CFL is a pretty small community, so it's like
Right.
you must know people on every team at this point, right?
Yeah.
Like,
Oh
you
yeah.
can call and check and be like, "Hey," I mean, and I'm just using this as an example, not saying, but, like, you can call Jameer Thurman and be like, "What's going on in Hamilton?" Right?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Thurman's a cool dude, man. Me and
Yeah.
him are cool, so I can, we got a couple eyes everywhere, so can, like you said, can easily just send a text or two and have some conversations.
Yeah. Um, and as you were saying, I mean, you're right now, like, you could show up and practice. You feel like you could play
Yeah,
pretty much right away?
yeah, yeah. Because I was training for training camp.
Yeah.
NFL. So I would have, if I'm not ready to go, then I mean, you're gonna get hurt or you're just gonna get cut, or So the fact that I would be joining CFL almost midway, which is fine because I've been ready to go. So it's not, I mean, I'm not really intimidated by being mid year. No, I come in and play, I'm ready to go.
Yeah. And I mean, it's not fully mid-year either, right? Like, it's only 6, 7, 8 weeks in. I don't know if you're
Yeah,
gonna be able
I
to win the
think it's 8
tackle
weeks.
title necessarily this year,
You said
but
what?
I don't know if you're gonna be able to, but you could get to
uh,
60. You could get to
Uh,
60.
yeah, we'll see. We'll see, man. Come in there and make some plays and shoot. Only title I want is a Grey Cup.
Yeah.
So XFL champ, whatever champ. I'm just gonna leave it like that. That's the goal, though. Like, I mean, if I'm not coming to want to win, then it's like, what am I doing? I'm
I
not.
mean,
I'm not coming for personal accolades.
no, but I mean, and I know you're not, but you'd have to be the first person ever to win the XFL championship and a Grey Cup. I
Yeah, yeah,
maybe
yeah,
there's 1 or 2 from back in the day, but
yeah.
that'd be
It'd be
kinda
crazy.
cool.
Yeah, it'd be crazy.
Yeah.
I don't even. I just try to think this one day at a time, man. Just wake up, get my train on, and then whatever happens from there happens, man. So, but yeah,
Yeah, that's exciting, man. Like, you missed it?
yeah, yeah. I mean, the CFL is it's how do I explain it? It's a smaller community
Okay.
than the clearly I mean the NFL. The NFL is, I mean, huge, and CFL obviously isn't as known as the NFL, but in terms of the XFL, I feel like it was just a completely different experience. Coming from even the fans, um, the media, the plan, the hype, the team. Um, yeah. Part of me kind of was kind of itching. A little itch. I got a little itch early, and I was like, okay, it's just an itch, and then it's like, okay, it's itching a little more, and it's like, so yeah, I mean, yeah, I did miss it, so, but I don't regret nothing, I had a great time. I went and took an opportunity,
Yeah.
so, um, it wasn't any, um, negative, it wasn't any bad blood with any team. It was an opportunity I had, and I decided to go with it. I did some praying and yeah,
Yeah.
I took the opportunity.
I imagine also, like, and I know I'm here in Calgary, and I know you had a great time and, you're loved here in Calgary, but also, I mean, there's a difference between playing in, like, Regina, where it's, such a part of the community and
Mhm.
such a part of the traditions and all that, and then going to a new league where they're trying
Yeah,
to very much in its infancy. You're just gonna feel that no matter what.
yeah, yeah, and it's a startup. They're I think they're trying to revamp it. And I know there was that big thing about the 60 million. I'm sure you heard of it. $60 million loss that they took But I'm not too business savvy. But from what I understand, I guess I am business savvy, but I'm not too knowledgeable in terms of how much of a loss that is.
Yeah.
Um, but from what I understand, it's normal to have a loss like that and then kind of work your way back. Um, so maybe that's what is going to happen. But yeah, I got a lot of friends that I played against in the XFL. A lot of guys who I played with in the NFL. It was kind of surprising. I was like, "Dang, you're here?" He's like, "Yeah, man." So
I don't know that as someone who like works in, not in the CFL, but like covering it, I don't know that I'm supposed to. I did really enjoy watching it. Like it was some good
yeah,
quality football.
yeah,
Like,
it was. Yeah, it's a bunch of guys chasing a dream.
mhm,
So just like the CFL,
yeah,
just like the USFL, it's a bunch of guys chasing a dream. So anytime you have something like that, I think that you're bound to see good football. I'll put it as simple as that.
nice. Um, two more questions. Like right now, like you got a call, you get an offer, you decide you want to join. Can you be like pack your bags, ready to go tomorrow morning? Like
Yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah. I'm always packed and ready. I actually have a bag ready, um, down in my garage. I have a bag that's always ready. Um, just because of my experience and knowing how fast things can turn just like that. I've always, kind of made sure I'm ready to go. So yeah, I got my bag ready, got a backup bag ready. I got a ride if needed. So yeah, it's a if it feels right and that's the play we're gonna do,
yep,
then we're gonna go ahead and do it.
nice. And then finally, you got the sneakers in the background.
Yep.
Um, I mean,
Some lights. That's a couple of them.
yeah.
Man.
So there's more because I was gonna say I see there. That's 18 pairs there that I'm looking at or something. Oh
Three,
man,
3 cent, 9, 15, 18, 20, 24, I think, 21. I
how many
mean,
of those do you bring
that's,
with you if you come to Canada?
I'll probably bring five.
Okay,
I'll probably bring five. I'll bring
yeah,
like a sneaker bag and then a clothes bag.
that's amazing. What's your like most proud pair?
Oh, sh- mm.
I like that you got to think about it.
Let me
Okay,
see. What you know about these, man?
I can't fully see them. Oh damn, are those are the Jordan highs, eh?
Come on.
Woo.
This is probably my most proud pair right here. I try to
Yeah,
keep it
man.
clean. Only take these out on occasion. So maybe if I sign up there, this may be the shoe you see me with that first. Just whatever media going on,
Yeah,
that's gonna be what you see me in though.
those are nice, man. Those are hard to get too.
But yeah, then I have the like the other ones in my garage, like another couple
Yeah,
rows. I just don't keep them all in here. It's just yeah,
man, those are
but
sick.
it's nothing crazy. There's plenty of people that have more than and I just little hobby.
Little collection. I love that, man. Um, well, man, thank you. I can't wait to see you play again. I'm so appreciative of you taking the time, man. It really means a lot. I super appreciate it. And even the COVID season, which is the season you were in Calgary. So like,
Yeah.
you, I can tell you, man, like you had a reputation for just being like good with the community, good with the media, and
Mm.
just being one of the best dudes. So like, I was really hyped when I heard that you were looking to come back north. So yeah,
Yeah.
I'm
Well,
excited, man.
I appreciate you, man. I'm excited. We'll find out here sooner than later. That's all I'll say.
Perfect, man. Appreciate you. Thank you. Guys, what are you doing tonight? I don't know what you're doing tonight. You're probably looking for something. Guys, you got to go check out Mike's Pub. This is probably my favorite pub in the city, 1330 15th Avenue Southwest, right in the Beltline. Honestly, they do it all. I, for years, played trivia on Wednesday nights at Mugs. It's the best trivia night in the city. Other nights, they got music. They got specials every single night. Some of the best food and drink specials in the entire city are at Mugs Pub. You want wine, you want beer, you want cocktails. They got it all. Big fan of their fish and chips. They got some amazing pizza. You want to watch the game? They got TV screens. You want to just have a drink with friends? Perfect spot to do it. You want to have some food? As I said, it's delicious. Mugs Pub. We love having them as a sponsor. We love having them just down the road from us here at our studios. Check out Mugs Pub. They're the best. Darnell Sankey, that was super exciting. Really fun to talk to him. Can't wait to see where he goes. But
I think he's going to be a good addition to wherever he does go in the CFL. So yeah.
Darnell Sankey is not a joke, but I should probably introduce you before we start going into the takes. I like that you did that. I want to be clear. I'm not mad at you. Ian, you're becoming. This was our plan before I started this podcast, was to try to have you on every Sunday. It's just it's hard with timing because you work on Sundays, but we're on a bit of a run here. And
nice.
Again, I'm super grateful that you're back here tonight. For those people who don't know, I'm going to do this every time just so that new listeners know. I cover the Calgary St. Peters. I've covered them since 2016. You covered them for many, many years prior to that.
Yeah.
A guy I've learned a lot from. So honestly, it's one of the fun things. You saw it, I saw it. We had a couple fans just talking about how great it was that you're able to sort of toss in a little bit of historical perspective.
Well, and that's I'm grateful that people actually like my long-winded, boring stories. So like I got them in here, and I got to get them out sometimes, and that's what happens.
Boring. It is why you're here, and it's great. And again, I think that last week we were talking. The Stamps were 2-5, coming off losses to Ottawa and Montreal,
and it felt like I was more positive than a lot of people were. So
well, I do, but I think it's important to have that historical perspective, saying, like, hey, here's things I've seen over the years. Fast start. Then we're gonna jump right into it. The Stampeders come out 22-7 win over the Argonauts on Friday night. This is one of those wins where, like, you see 20-7, you look at the actual offensive numbers, and you're like, oh, Jake Mayer only threw for 149 yards.
Right.
Here's the thing. All anyone was saying was he turns the ball over too much. He didn't turn over the ball.
Yeah.
They got ahead. They played conservative. They played smart. Yes, the Argos were without Chad Kelly for roughly 3/4 of the game, a little bit less than that. But you can only beat what's in front of you.
Right.
They did a great job. I thought that the defense was incredibly dominant. And I thought, obviously, Diedrich Mills. I was worried that the Stamps were going to lose all 4 games this month. They go out. They beat the best team in the league. Like, it's not just that this, like, lets off some pressure. This also sort of changes the complexion of the season.
Yeah. Well, and so, you feel like a monumental win. Maybe that's overstating it a bit, but they put together a game plan and said, okay, here's the way we're going to have to beat Toronto is to let's have ball possession. We don't need to be big strike offense, whatever. The time of possession was where
39 minutes and 51 seconds for Calgary.
Yeah.
21:09. It's almost double.
When you're you're holding the ball for 2/3 of the game and you're not putting in the ball in the opposition's offensive hands, that's perfect. So I think they just saw what the game plan needed to be to beat Toronto. And I think there was nobody who had beaten Toronto yet this year, and they figured out a way to do it. So anybody was like, oh, yeah, they got lucky that Chad Kelly got hurt. I'm like, no, it's like you got lucky with the bounce on and the touchdown off a fumbled punt at the end of the first half. But again, you need to get some luck sometimes, right?
It's not luck. Like, that's the Stamps have had bad bounces all season, and they got a good bounce. Like, it's not these things tend to even out over the course of an 18-game season. But, like, the Stamps catching a break is different from the Stamps got lucky.
Yeah.
And I know that people are gonna be like, oh, Danny, you cover the Stamps. You're going, no. They caught a break, and they so many times this season and the breaks went the other way.
Yeah.
And you were sitting there saying, like, oh, well, they lost in overtime. And, like, look at this play that happened in the second quarter. If that had gone slightly differently, or the call had gone the other way, and I didn't like the call. So, like, look, they caught a break. Right. And I will say this in terms of Chad Kelly, who I think has been great this season. I think he's good for the CFL. As people know, I'm from Toronto. Like, I've got an affection for the Argos. I root for them to succeed. I'm not saying I root for them to win or lose, but I root for them to be relevant. I think it's good for the league. Chad Kelly, he left at about the 11-minute mark in the second quarter, which means he played about 20 minutes.
Yeah.
Now, he had 94 passing yards.
75 of which were on one play.
76 of which were on one play. So it's not like Chad Kelly was tearing the Stamps defense apart.
And that was just a real bad defensive breakdown where they
leave the guy coverage.
Yeah, and they leave the guy wide open, and you credit to the Kelly for hitting him and then going the distance. It was like,
when you watch that replay, you can literally see the moment where Titus Wall, and I'm not saying it was his busted coverage,
no,
but you could see him realize what's happening.
No.
And just you're like, he sprints. It is a professional athlete being like, oh no, and just jetting down the field.
It's always funny when you can actually see the moment where it's like, oh yeah, it's like I think of The Simpsons where it's like you can pinpoint the moment where his heart breaks.
Exactly.
When poor little Ralph is like, that was that was a busted play. And other than that play, like the Argos never really put anything together on offense, and it was because the defense was so tight, and like they played such a ball hawking, swarming defense. Like they were getting after him,
And-
the quarterbacks, and they were stifling the run game. And I thought Mike Rose had a pretty good game.
Mike Rose. Oh, I had someone last week just be like, "Oh, well, Mike Rose isn't quite the same player this year," and I was like, "Oh, he's just heating up."
Yeah.
He didn't have a sack until week 6 of last season. Mike Rose is like,
but it's not about all the sack numbers.
of course, I'm just saying he is going to dominate. He is heating up. And what you saw, and I think it's why that time of possession number matters so much, because the Stamps have allowed some pretty big numbers against them.
Yeah.
But it's mostly been because the offense hasn't been able to stay on the field. So the defense has
wearing
worn
down. Yeah.
And this time the offense stayed on the field. So the defense could just kind of go in
Right.
and be their best selves. And I thought they were exceptional. I will say, this is, getting into the weeds a little bit, but CFL podcast, so I don't know what like people expect. I thought that the move to have Trey Roberson and Jonathan Moxey back at the corner positions rather than Moxey at halfback, I thought it really paid dividends.
When I heard Dave,
Sure, Moxey, like he had a DPI, defensive pass interference, that it's not the first time it's happened this season. I know that needs to be cut out. On the very next drive, he ends the drive with an end zone interception.
Yes.
Like that
was a key play.
Well, and I had this conversation with Devon Claybrooks about Devon Claybrooks is a former Calgary St. Peter's defensive coordinator. He was like, I actually don't care if you get beat once.
Yeah.
He was like, I care if after you get beat, you don't change what you're doing.
Right.
You stick to the fundamentals and do it. And that's what Moxie did. And I thought that was a huge play in the game. Obviously, it would have been a touchdown if he hadn't caught it, but it was also a guy had just gotten burned. Came back
you gotta forget that play and move on, right?
Exactly. It's what you want.
You got to forget it, but also fix it.
And Roberson had there was a play where he fell down on a coverage, which like people fall down.
Yeah.
I thought that made a huge difference.
I fall down all the time.
I know. Hey, I'm literally dealing with a torn trapezius.
Right.
Exactly. But I was really, really impressed with the defense. And a couple weeks ago I had a run where I had a bunch of the Winnipeg reporters on, and finally someone at Sam's practice was like, you have to stop just having people who just come on and say great things about the Bombers. The Bombers are great. We are going to get to that. If this is coming across as overly positive, it is just because it is exactly what you said. They had a game plan. It may not have been the sexiest game plan.
No, it wasn't. And who cares how you win, right?
They allowed one score
the
entire game. I don't care who the quarterback is. That is impressive. This is against an undefeated team, and they're the first team to beat them. For me, I suddenly now look at the rest of the month, which is the Lions away. I imagine that's a loss.
Well, again, the Lions look like a team that is missing its number one quarterback right now. And I don't know if
I think he's back.
And I don't know if Dane Evans. So if Vern Adams comes back, Dane Evans went out in that game on Thursday night. So that changes that dynamic. We're going to have to watch to see what happens with Lions this week. And then, you're back home to Winnipeg again. And I don't feel like these are unbeatable teams. You just have to put together a good play. And the one thing about
Bombers at home suddenly looks like a game where you're not just crossing it off.
Yeah.
You're suddenly saying, okay, it's at home. I'm trying to avoid talking about Bombers Lions because I think it's going to be a big part of the conversation we have to have. And I can do the whole mocking. Like, it was so funny being people like, the Bombers just shut up all the critics. It's like the critics were saying they were the third best team in the league at worst.
Yeah, we were really downplaying their significance at this time.
They didn't win the Grey Cup last year, just for the record.
Right.
But I think for the Stamps, you come out. I thought Jake did exactly what was asked of him, and then
22 of 24 is a really nice night.
Who cares if you're asking him to throw 30 yards or not?
Yeah.
I thought he was good.
They played ball possession. Not making mistakes, and that's what they did.
Yep.
Yeah,
that is football sometimes, right?
Yes,
like football is not.
Sometimes you just got to play a clean game and win,
and they did,
and that's what it is.
I don't think we can go any further without just very quickly mentioning Dedrick Mills, 27 carries for 137 yards, 4 catches for 18 yards. This guy, that is too much work.
That's the thing. But I think you're looking at it though, and he was so good, and he was so powering, right? He just powered through a lot of those for a lot of tough yards. But you look at Kaneem Carey coming back, and then so you can push him pretty hard in this game and get the win out of it, and then go, okay, well, we're going to get our number one running back, and maybe they can finagle the roster to keep him on the roster. So you've got so you got the two of them together. I remember you in that game last year in Saskatchewan when they both had 100 yards, I think, and you asked for them to be interviewed together. It was like just pure entertainment. It was great.
It's one of the greatest interviews that I've ever done.
Yeah. It was my favorite thing listening to that over and over.
But you're 100% right. And like
that's a pretty good tandem.
Kadeem Carey may be the best running back in the league. I think he is. Dedrick Mills is in the top 4 or 5.
Yeah,
for sure. There is no way they can drop him, right? After the job that he has done, you can't ask a guy to do this much work and then say, well, you're out of the lineup.
Yeah.
So they are going to keep them. If you look, I mean, I'm going to just sort of pull up while I vamp for 1 second. Well, I have the position chart. All that you have to do.
You've got to, yeah.
The bigger issue is when Peyton Logan comes back.
That was the
and then
issue,
you have to
right?
have the 3. You can have 2, no problem. You're going to do.
But you're getting a pretty good, decent return and returns out of Barnes right now. Anyway, he was pretty good in that game. 70 some yards.
Lewis.
Yeah. Or was it Lewis that did all the returning? Yeah. Okay.
Both of them did.
Okay. But one of them had 70 yards in punt returns, which was pretty key too. So
yes, you're right.
I think they won that battle as well. And their special teams this year has been up and down. And now
Clark Barnes. I wish that there were better stats so I could say definitively that he's been the best rookie in the league this season. But
I know you've been going on about this for a while, and I think you're absolutely 100% correct. I don't know that there's another.
He's a University of Guelph alum, so I am a University of Guelph alum. I don't actually have a really great affection, but shout out him. He played 14 games in 4 years at the University of Guelph. He has now played 8 games and isn't showing any wear and tear. So that's with Jalen Philpott out. He has stepped up in such a major way. It's just been incredible to see. My point is this, and I'm taking the really long way to get there. With Dedrick Mills and Kadeem Carey back, it's great. I have never covered a team that needs to get the lead more than these Stampeders. They cannot use the run game the way that they need to without being up. They need to.
And it's something I've never understood. It was like, why do you have to go away from if you're down a score or 2?
You do late in the game.
Yeah, but I don't know why you have to go away from your game plan if that's what your game plan is. So, and I've always been confused about okay, well, if we get the lead, then we can run the ball. Well, no, if your bread and butter is running the ball and ball possession, just do that. You'll have to make stops on defense and try and put together sustained drives, right?
Just managing the clock where you particularly in the second half.
Oh yeah.
If you're down, you kind of just want to make sure that you're not in a position where you're having to try to get 14 points in 4 minutes. And ultimately the pass game, this is the wrong term, but it's a high risk, high reward. So if you're going for those big plays, those deflating plays, and those plays that ultimately you don't use much of the clock.
Right. But this is the CFL where you can put together, if you do put together long drives, it's still not going to take 8-9 minutes off the clock. That's kind of a rarity. The Bombers did that to the Stamps earlier this year. They had a 9-minute drive, and it just felt like this drive was taking forever. And it just basically deflated any chances of a Stamps comeback in that game. But that's the thing. I think you can stick with the run game, even if you're down, but you have to make stops on defense and get the ball back to your offense. And I think that was the key in this game, because they kept bringing the ball back to their offense and was like, okay, let's put together 3-4 minute drives over and over and over. And when you do that, even if you're getting a couple of field goals out of it, it was funny. There was only 17-7 at halftime, and they only got a one field goal in the entire second half.
They completely dominated.
And it felt like they were scoring a lot more, but they just didn't. So, but they were keeping the ball and then putting them deep, and field position was a big thing in this one. So
really, really huge win for the Stampeders.
Yeah.
Even if they lose the next 3, it puts you at 3-8, and then you beat the Elks twice, and you're 5-8. It's not great, but look, every win counts, and beating the Argos at home, this is a win that they desperately needed, both for confidence and just to be honest, we are
throws that.
Well, we are recording this, and I try to be totally transparent.
Yeah.
At 6:30 on Sunday night, because it's the only time. But the Rough Riders are currently up 13-8.
Yeah, they're leading the Red Blacks.
Yes.
If you figure if Saskatchewan holds that,
terrible. But you need to keep pace.
Wasn't great when I was watching.
You need to keep pace, and this win keeps pace regardless of what happens in that game. I don't think this tells us anything about the Argos.
No, I think they can go, oh, we lost our quarterback. It was a road game. We don't there's no real pressure on them in the standings. There's just like, okay, they can go, okay, well, we'll regroup. They got a bye week coming up after next week. And then there's talk that they're going to rest Chad Kelly, bring him back after the bye week. And they'll be heading into their home and home with Hamilton. So you would like, that could be the death knell for the Tiger Cats, because if they get swept in that series, then it's like, there's probably not much of a chance of them making a sustained run.
Ticats and Argos played 4 games in 5 weeks.
Yes.
What was that?
Was great.
All
it was
four.
Like, Hamilton versus Toronto again.
Yeah, all for their quote unquote drive to survive show. That was nuts. Okay, so yeah, I do quickly on the Stamps. I do think, I don't know what is going on with Trey Adams-Dukes. He didn't play.
Yeah.
I actually don't know that them signing Markeith Ambles tells us anything about that, beyond they just added a veteran receiver who
I think it's
played
like
with the team.
One of those ones where you bring in a guy that you
no-brainer.
had, and
if the Argos didn't have the depth of receivers that they do,
right,
Markeith Ambles would be playing. It's not like he's like not.
No, he's still effective for what he does, and I think you can never have enough of those guys by the end of the year.
He's a big-bodied guy who can play in the slot, can play out wide if you need him.
Well, and I remember, like, this was a decade ago, but Calgary brought in Marquay McDaniel, and it was just like, and I remember the move at the time, and everybody was like, well, they don't really need Marquay McDaniel. They got a bunch of great receivers. They were stocked full. And then by the end of the year, they needed him. So it's just, you never know what you're going to need by the end of the year. And every time I see it was like, oh, another receiver. Yeah. You think the scene in Ocean's 11 while they're sitting at the bar and they're going, think we need one more? Yeah, we need one more. Yeah. We just need one more.
You could never not. I do want to very quickly, this is off the top of my head, which is, again, I got to stop doing this.
You're just thinking of what?
I'm looking at the 2018 Grey Cup depth chart.
Yeah.
Wow, which the Stamps played Chris Matthews, Eric Rogers, Bakari Grant, Juwan Brescacin, and Lamar Durant. So realistically, Eric Rogers would have been an everyday starter.
Yeah.
Brescacin was an everyday starter. It was Chris Matthews. They brought him back because DeVaris Daniels.
Right.
But on their injured list for that game, you had Markeith Ambles, Mark Michelle, and Reggie Bagleton. So they currently have this. They could dress the same number of injured receivers from 2018 as they had starting receivers in the Grey Cup that year.
Wow.
I don't know if I fully articulate that, but it's nuts. It's wild that they've just brought back all of their 2018 receivers. What is equally wild, and I want to jump around here, we are going to get to Winnipeg, BC. That game's a little while ago now. So
it was Thursday night, and it just felt like that one was just I expected that win. I expected the Bombers to come out and just play solidly, and they absolutely.
We're going to talk about it because it's an important game.
Yeah.
Let's just.
You want to go Argos first?
No, I want to do Alouettes Ticats first.
Okay.
And now I want to do that for a number of reasons, but right now, I mean, there's just not really an argument. They're the only, the Argos are 6-1. The Bombers, Lions, we all have established those as the top 3 teams in the league right now.
Yeah.
The Alouettes are 4-2. They're the only team over 500. But I mean, they comfortably walked in and beat 127-14 against the Ticats team that did not have its starting quarterback.
Or their quarterback.
So this is a game that you should have won.
Yeah.
But they did. They just, and that's what good football teams do, is they win the games that they're supposed to win.
Yeah.
And I just, at this point, the Alouettes are quite clearly number 4 for me. We asked a couple weeks ago if it was the Red Blacks. No,
it's
the Alouettes.
Yeah. Well, after a couple of wins, obviously beating the Stampeders, by a touchdown, and then with this game, again, you were talking about Kadeem Carey might be the best running back in the league, but Stanback's in the top few, right?
Stanback's my argument for another one.
Yeah.
I mean, I like Ouellette. I think there's some good running backs in the league.
Right. But that was just another one of those running attack games where, what did he pile up? Something.
He had 106.
Yeah.
On 19.
So that's what you'd want, a 5-yard average, giving your offense a chance to be in second and short a lot. So that team is going to be one of those ones where, as long as Fajardo keeps
this team
managing the ship there,
this team tops out with where Fajardo could take them.
Yes.
And he was terrible in the first half. He was much better in the second half. The East is not, realistically, the Argos are going to finish first in the East. So you're trying to host the semifinal.
Yeah.
And whoever you're playing, well,
It could be a West team. We
I
mentioned in
doubt
the
it.
East crossover last week, but
And
no.
I think we're all a little bit comfortable with the fact that like the Dustin Crum thing, we like him.
Yeah.
He's got potential, but
he's still a rookie. You know, he's
Still a rookie.
Still got to.
they're losing 13-8 to the Riders.
Yeah,
So
we're not exactly watching that
They've
game
come
right
back
now.
down to size. But Cody Fajardo for me is a guy who, like, look, Jamie and I made this point a couple weeks ago. People forget that he led them to 2 West Finals.
Well, he was the MOP candidate, and he was a legit MOP candidate a few years ago.
Yeah, I mean, every other quarterback in the league was hurt that year in
Yes.
2019. But in that West Final, which I drove to Regina because I was like, I don't know, there's West Final in Regina. I kind of want to be there. Against Winnipeg, like they had 2 drives where they were literally like on the goal line and couldn't get in. And otherwise, this whole Winnipeg dynasty.
They were very close.
Yeah. So Fajardo is a good quarterback. I just don't know that where does he take you? Like, what is the limit of what the Alouettes can do with Fajardo as a quarterback? He has surprised me this year. He is showing me. I had him written off. I will be honest with you, I was wrong. I like the progress that I see. I don't always like the decision making, but it's early in the season. And that's just going to be the question for them because
how many sacks did they give up in this game? Because that to me is like, okay, we know Fajardo's a tough
2.
Yeah. So he's a tough quarterback and he plays tough. And when he's running the ball, he's like, that's when he's most effective, but he's got to stop taking those hits. And I think they've really decreased it in the last few weeks.
I mean, you could practically hear everyone at Mosaic Stadium last year when everyone was like, the Riders O-line is so bad. And everyone was like, it's Cody.
Yeah,
it's Cody.
He just keeps the ball and he just doesn't want to, he'll take the hits, which you admire. You need to, sometimes you need to take a hit to make a play. Sometimes you don't need to take a hit.
He does make big plays.
Yeah.
That's the thing. Like we saw it, like he is a capable, like,
well, and he's kind of been all or nothing in the time that he's been in this league. Mm-hmm. Right. So again, I think they're a solid team overall as well. Like I like their defense as well. So it's just, that's a team that's going to be like, okay, if you get in the playoffs, you never know what's going to happen. And I see you're just bringing up Sean Lemon.
Oh no, yeah, for sure. I wasn't trying to interrupt you.
No,
but it's the other story of the game. 34 years old, dumped by the Lions, which again, the Lions have an incredible D-line. There was a ratio issue there.
Yeah.
So that's not as simple as like, oh, he wasn't good enough, but still dropped by the Lions in preseason. Last year's most outstanding defensive player for the entire West Division while playing for the Calgary Stampeders is just somehow out of work for 6 weeks. Comes back, his second game in, he gets 2 sacks, an interception, 3 defensive tackles.
You got an interception too.
Yeah.
Nice.
The guy was just everywhere. And I said this in my intro, but like we're so far. I don't know. There are just so many doubters about Sean Lemon. There are so many people who just refuse to acknowledge that he is year after year the most consistent. He does.
He just the only thing that's not consistent is the team he plays on. I was looking at his career, and he's been in several places twice. Right.
Okay, but this is the thing. And I had this conversation with him on the show.
Yeah.
People are like, oh, well, he never sticks around. And I'm like, oh no, the fact that people bring him back is the point.
Yes.
Not the fact that he's like, no, I want to get paid.
Yeah.
I want to go to the best opportunity. I'm not going to be like, I only have so many years in my career. I will take the best opportunity that's available to me. I will not stick around out of loyalty and take a discount for a hometown.
No, you can't do that.
And he's done it. And he goes out
too much.
If Sean Lemon, and we can't pull up his stats, unfortunately, but like
he's nearing 100 sacks, right?
He's got 94.
Yeah.
I know that stat. But like every year he's just basically between 10 to 12. And as I was sort of looking at this, I was like, he's got 2. And I was like, he's gonna get to 10 somehow. Like somehow Sean Lemon.
There's enough runway left here.
Oh yeah, God, he's gonna do it. And part of this is just that I like the guy and I've covered him and I know what a good man he is. But just seeing him at 34, I thought I don't know that it was disrespectful from anyone, but I can imagine how it felt to be just sidelined after the season he had last year and have no one come and get him.
Right.
That must have been super deflating. Like, what more could he have done? He deserved a contract. Having him back in the league, doing this, dominating games, having all these younger teammates be like,
the old guy still got it.
The old guy still got it. It warmed my heart. It was great to see. As for like the Ticats, I don't know, man. Like they've been handed a bit of a tough break here with the quarterback situation, and I mean their other guys haven't looked great when they're in anyways. But hard to do much when your net offense is 277.
Yeah,
and the others is 424.
Well, and the turnovers are the big thing that was killing him there. Obviously, we Lemon getting an interception. I didn't realize it was him when I saw it. So that's deflating. And that's a team that hosting the Grey Cup now has become, and it always used to be the way. It's like I used to say, it's like, oh, you're hosting the Grey Cup, you're not winning it. Sorry. And then we had a run there. Was like 2011, BC won at home, and then 2012 it was Toronto winning at home, and 13 was Riders winning at home, and it was just like, wow, this is that was a crazy amount. And then so it was like, okay, so there's a lot of always this like long way season pressure of, okay, when you're hosting the Grey Cup, you want to put yourself in the mix for the playoffs, and then it just feels like it's just disappointing when you can't even get there. And Saskatchewan last year when they were hosting couldn't even make the playoffs, and it just felt like everybody in that province was just like, what the heck? Like, you can't even make the playoffs? Somebody has to miss, but it's just weird when you're not in the playoffs and you're hosting.
I don't know that I'm writing the Ticats off.
No, it's probably too early for that, but you just don't see any positive signs there, do you?
No, and I probably have them right now. If we're doing like my internal power rankings, I definitely have the Stamps above them.
Yeah.
I have the Elks last, obviously. I'm just trying to think like that bottom, the bottom five would have obviously been Edmonton and then some combination of
Ottawa,
Calgary,
Saskatchewan.
Ottawa, Saskatchewan, Hamilton.
Yeah.
And I think I have Hamilton 8.
I would say that they're falling down the power rankings.
Yeah,
So-
the injuries are part of it, but yeah, there's I don't know. There's no way Darnell Sankey's going there, right?
I mean, don't they have the outstanding linebacker that was here last year?
I don't want to
in
say
Calgary?
too much, but I don't think Simone's been.
No, but they've also got
They've got Jameer.
Jameer Thurman. So
Yeah.
no, but Sankey, I'm like, if he comes back, like that'll be a boost. And I think like, is Calgary a good destination for him? I think you guys mentioned the last week when it was Ambles was released. I was like,
Ambles made perfect sense. Sankey, I'm gonna be honestly, what I will say is that like there's rumblings.
Yeah. Well, Cam Judge went out with he was in concussion protocol the other night. I don't know if that was a long lasting thing or anything.
I mean, I don't think that's going to take him out for the rest of the year.
No, but again, like you can never have.
Micah always been really good.
So
the question is, like, Darnell Sankey's been a top elite linebacker for 2 years.
Yeah.
So I'm sure that every team's got to at least be considering it. He is going to have a contract within a week. He didn't say that. He didn't say that off the record either. That is just my opinion.
Yeah.
I know how the CFL works. Anything else you want to say quickly on Al's Ticats, or should we move on?
Let's move on to the Winnipeg Blue Bombers.
Oh my goodness.
So yeah, Zach. So
if we were recording this on Friday, I want to be clear, I would have come in so hot because like the whole I've said this already. The whole the Bombers overcoming the odds. They're silencing the critics.
Right.
Like,
so much
said anything.
So much adversity they've had lately.
Yeah.
Right.
Oh, it's so hard. All I have said is that their O-line is old.
And that's not
every time that I've said
they're constantly getting older.
And I'm not obviously people aren't talking about me when they're like, oh, the critics. But like every time anyone has questioned them.
Right.
I know I have said, I was like, they're still the team I don't want to see in the playoffs. The number one scariest playoff opponent is the Winnipeg Blue Bombers. Look, what did I learn about the Winnipeg Blue Bombers? If you give them a bye week and have them up against a short week BC Lions team and they're at home, there is no team scarier than the Bombers. They slaughtered them. And like Kenny Lawler, if I'm going to sit here and be like, oh, guys, just wait, Mike Rose is heating up.
Yeah.
Kenny Lawler looked like worth every penny of his contract.
Well, and that was the thing. They were off to a great start before he came back, and now like 200 yards. Jeepers.
Oh, and some of those catches were like acrobatic.
Yes.
He's just look, the Bombers are great. No one is writing off the Bombers. No one was writing off the Bombers. And I will say, I listened to Rick Campbell talk to the Lions afterwards, and he was like, I don't know, guys, it's one of those games. Don't get too upset about it.
Yeah.
We're a pretty good football team. We'll bounce back.
Right. Just you take that one and you flush it if you're Lions. And then you hope that your quarterback is coming back.
And what are you going to do? I mean,
right.
Like you don't want to be playing. You don't want to be giving Dominic Davis 18 throws at this point in his career. For me, this absolutely reestablishes that there's like, if you think it's anything other than like the Bombers up there, right in the mix, those top three are interchangeable.
Yes.
Until I see, you know,
I don't.
the Argos have some work to do before I'm going to confidently say that.
Well, and that's the thing. Like, now, do we throw the power rankings into that top three into a blender and Winnipeg comes out top?
You might.
Yeah.
I don't think I would.
I don't know. I still like Toronto on the top of that that list. But again, we're not even halfway through the season yet. It feels like the season's really long, but
I know. Well, we always sort of hit August. Yeah, you're right though. It does feel a little bit. It just gets stuff's less established.
Well, and
which is good. There's a little bit more parity. There's tiers, but
the thing is, the season started earlier than it ever has before, and we're not even at Labor Day yet, and it feels like everybody was used to tell me, "Oh, the CFL season doesn't even really start till Labor Day." I'm like, "Well, no, the games before that actually matter." But you get a sense of who you are by Labor Day, but now that is like in the second half of the season, right?
True.
So,
but the Lions now have Calgary, which is going to be an interesting game. I would have the Lions as favorites there for sure.
Yeah.
At Sask, I think that the Lions should definitely be favorites there. Then they host Hamilton.
Yep.
At Montreal, I'd have the Lions favorite. Then Ottawa at BC. That's an easy, straightforward win for the Lions. Then at Edmonton. Then they host Sask. And then what's inevitably going to be the biggest game of the season, which is Winnipeg at BC.
And is that the same week that Calgary's playing Saskatchewan? Because those two, like Winnipeg, BC in week 18 is going to be your tiebreaker for the between those two teams. Mm-hmm. And then you're going to have right around the same time Saskatchewan is playing Calgary, and that's going to be the tiebreaker in the season series between those two teams
next week. And I believe that because I'm looking at it.
Yeah, I believe that's because of what the schedule says.
Yeah, I have a laptop, so I can pull things up to reference.
Right.
But look, again, I don't.
So I think you're going to have the BC Lions favored in every game, maybe outside of that Winnipeg game. Like
at home, I still favor. I don't know. Maybe the Bombers have a bye week the week before that too. That would be crazy.
That would be just unfair.
Yeah, I mean, look, what this did is establish to me that what we all knew and that no one was actually saying anything different is that the Bombers are a very good football team.
Yes.
I know that people in Winnipeg need to hear that for some reason.
Are you referring to anybody specifically?
Not by name. Not on my podcast.
I get it. If anybody knows me, I've got a complicated relationship with Winnipeg Blue Bombers fans. So
I love everyone in Winnipeg. It was so funny, the narrative that they were somehow being disrespected.
Yeah. The world is against us. Nobody believes in us team, right?
Exactly.
One of those, okay, really? You've been in the last 3 Grey Cups and you won 2 of them. We believe in you.
So let's very quickly. This is another one of those annoying ones where both of us are going to pick the Calgary game as the most interesting game of the week. We are looking forward to week 10. On Thursday, you have the Bombers at the Elks. I honestly think it's best just not to talk about that or even acknowledge that it's happening.
Winnipeg at the Elks. It just doesn't get any easier for
August 11th, which is my sister's birthday.
But I am interested in that game in the simple fact that they've named Trey Ford the starting quarterback. I think it's about time they give him a chance. I've heard people say to me in the last couple of days, well, people in Edmonton say he's no better than Taylor Cornelius in practice right now. I'm like, that's practice. Like, whatever. Well, you got to get him out there and see if he can run around and just create something. Winnipeg does have a little bit of a struggle when they face running quarterbacks. I can say that. But
Winnipeg is going to win this game by 135 points.
All right, don't eat your words.
I am not going to indulge any conversation.
They just met a few weeks ago and the spread was like 14.5. So it was, and they covered it massively. So, no, they didn't actually cover that game. They only won by 14.
I know nothing about gambling, but I am putting the spread at 114.5. August 11th, which is my sister's birthday, which is good for me to remember. Put something in my phone about that.
Yeah.
Saskatchewan at Montreal.
I'm interested in that one. I think that's a watchable in my estimation. That's a game that I want to see if Montreal can continue. And we don't know the result of what's happening with Saskatchewan right now, but that team is
the messy divorce of Cody Fajardo leaving Saskatchewan. Yeah, adds intrigue to this. I kind of ultimately I think Montreal's a better team than Saskatchewan, as we said earlier. Game of the week is clearly Calgary, BC.
And that's a late one. Oh, no. It's not bad.
5 p.m. Mountain Time, so 3 p.m.
Yeah, so an
Eastern.
afternoon game in
7 p.m.
BC.
Eastern. In BC. That would be one that I would like to cover.
Yeah.
But ultimately, look, the Stamps, the Lions should rightfully be favorites here. But it's hard when they get crushed by 36 points.
Yeah.
And the Stamps beat the best team in the league. It's hard not to say like there's some intrigue here.
Oh yeah, no, 100%. And now the big thing we're going to watch all week is whether Vernon Adams is back. By all accounts, they didn't think it was like a major injury that would have kept him out. He's been out 3 games now.
My impression is he's supposed to be back. I thought this was the game that they had like sort of circled. Finally, Ottawa, Toronto. Like, I don't know. Come on, guys. The Argos had lost part of this week. The Red Blacks are currently
and again, we're dealing with a quarterback injury there. So if the Chad Kelly can't play, you'd feel a little bit better about Ottawa's chances. But again, Ottawa, they had a couple of those 2 big games against Winnipeg and Calgary, and now they've just kind of looked lackluster in the last couple of weeks.
Yeah,
they're not winning today. So
they're down 20-8. There's 10:27 left in the third quarter.
Oh yeah, that's definitely not
given
over.
that people can't listen to this tomorrow, I don't know that anyone needs a live play-by-play from me about the Red Blacks and Riders. But yeah, I don't know. That's an okay. I mean, that's a fine week of games, guys. Like it's August. Let's all just get to Labor Day.
Yeah. Well, we got 3 more weeks till then. So.
Yeah.
We're on a holiday Monday here tomorrow in Alberta, and we don't have a football game. I always like to have holiday Mondays and have football games, but that's just me.
I don't know. I feel like the schedule makers did their best.
Oh, really? Yeah, you bit your tongue on that one.
That's the extent that I'm willing to put it. Stay blessed, guys. Thank you for listening to the Live from the 55. Yeah, have a good week. We'll talk to you Thursday.